June 24th at 3 p.m., June 28th at 3 p.m. Alliance War, Giants Bane. Gigantus, redirects here. For other uses, see. Gigantus disambiguation. Gigantomachy, redirects here. For the painting, see. Gigantomachy by the secular painter. In Greek and Roman mythology, the giants, also called gigantus, Greek, gigants, singular, gigas, were a race of great strength and aggression, though not necessarily of great size. They were known for the gigantomachy, or gigantomachia, their battle with the Olympian gods. According to Hesiod, the giants were the offspring of Gaia, earth born from the blood that fell when Uranus, sky, was castrated by his Titan, son, Cronus. Poseidon, left holding a trident, with the island Nisyros on his shoulder, battling a giant, probably polybotes. Red figure. Cup C. 500 to 450 BC. Cabinet des Medales. Archaic and classical representations show Gigantus as man-sized hoplites. Heavily armed ancient Greek foot soldiers, fully human in form. Later representations after c. 380 BC show Gigantus with snakes for legs. In later traditions, the giants were often confused with other opponents of the Olympians, particularly the Titans, an earlier generation of large and powerful children of Gaia and Uranus. The vanquished giants were said to be buried under volcanoes and to be the cause of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. Origins. The name Gigantus is usually taken to imply earth-born, and Hesiod, theogony, makes this explicit by having the giants be the offspring of Gaia, earth. According to Hesiod, Gaia, mating with Uranus, bore many children, the first generation of Titans, Cyclopes, and the Hundred-Handers. But Uranus hated his children and, as soon as they were born, he imprisoned them inside of Gaia, causing her much distress. And so Gaia made a sickle of adamant which she gave to Cronus, the youngest of her Titan sons, and hid him presumably still inside Gaia's body to wait in ambush. And when Uranus came to lie with Gaia, Cronus castrated his father, and the bloody drops that gushed forth Gaia received, and as the seasons moved round she bore the great giants. From these same drops of blood also came the Erinyes, Furies, and the Melii, ash tree nymphs, while the severed genitals of Uranus falling into the sea resulted in a white foam from which Aphrodite grew. The mythographer Apollodorus also has the giants being the offspring of Gaia and Uranus, though he makes no connection with Uranus's castration, saying simply that Gaia, vexed on account of the Titans, brought forth the giants. 3 brief references to the Gigantus in Homer, Odyssey. Though it's not entirely clear that Homer and Hesiod understood the term to mean the same thing. Homer has giants among the ancestors of the Phaeacians, a race of men encountered by Odysseus, their ruler, Alcinous, being the son of Nausithouse, who was the son of Poseidon, and Periboea, the daughter of the giant king Eurymedon. Elsewhere in the Odyssey, Alcinous says that the Phaeacians, like the Cyclopes and the giants, are near kin to the gods. Odysseus describes the Laestrygonians, another race encountered by Odysseus in his travels, as more like giants than men. Pausanias, the 2nd century AD geographer, read these lines of the Odyssey to mean that, for Homer, the giants were a race of mortal men. The 6th-5th century BC lyric poet Bacchylides calls the giants sons of the earth. Later the term, Gegenes, earthborn, became a common epithet of the giants. The 1st century Latin writer, Hyginus, has the giants being the offspring of Gaia and Tartarus, another primordial Greek deity. Confusion with Titans and others. Though distinct in early traditions, Hellenistic and later writers often confused or conflated the giants and the Gigantomachy with an earlier set of offspring of Gaia and Uranus, the Titans, and their war with the Olympian gods, the Titanomachy. This confusion extended to other opponents of the Olympians, including the huge monster, Typhon, the offspring of Gaia and Tartarus, whom Zeus finally defeated with his thunderbolt, and the Alodi, the large, strong and aggressive brothers Otis and Ephaltes, who piled Pelion on top of Ossa in order to scale the heavens and attack the Olympians, though in the case of Ephaltes there was probably a giant with the same name. Hyginus includes the names of 3 titans, Ceus, Iapetus, and Astraeus, along with Typhon and the Alodi, in his list of giants. And Ovid seems to conflate the Gigantomachy with the later siege of Olympus by the Alodi. Ovid also seems to confuse the 100-handers with the giants, whom he gives 100 arms. So perhaps do Climacus and Philostratus, since they both make Aegean the cause of earthquakes, as was often said about the giants see below. Descriptions. Homer describes the giant king Eurymedon as great-hearted, Megalteros, and his people as insolent, Hyperthemoisi, and froward, Atasthelos. Hesiod calls the giants strong, Gratron, and great, Megalus, which may or may not be a reference to their size, though a possible later addition, the Theogony, also has the giants born, with gleaming armor, holding long spears in their hands. Other early sources characterize the giants by their excesses. Pindar describes the excessive violence of the giant Porphyrion as having provoked beyond all measure. Bacchylides calls the giants arrogant, saying that they were destroyed by hybris, the Greek word hubris personified. The earlier 7th century BC poet, Alcman, perhaps had already used the giants as an example of hubris, with the phrases vengeance of the gods, and they suffered unforgettable punishments for the evil they did, being possible references to the Gigantomachy. Homer's comparison of the giants to the Laestrygonians is suggestive of similarities between the 2 races. The Laestrygonians, who hurled rocks huge as a man could lift, certainly possessed great strength, and possibly great size, as their king's wife is described as being as big as a mountain. Over time, descriptions of the giants make them less human, more monstrous and more gigantic. According to Apollodorus, the giants had great size and strength, a frightening appearance, with long hair and beards and scaly feet. Ovid makes them serpent-footed, with 100 arms, and Nonnus has them serpent-haired. The Gigantomachy. The most important divine struggle in Greek mythology was the Gigantomachy, the battle fought between the giants and the Olympian gods for supremacy of the cosmos. It is primarily for this battle that the giants are known, and its importance to Greek culture is attested by the frequent depiction of the Gigantomachy in Greek art. Early sources. Athena, left fighting the giant. Enceladus, inscribed retrograde on an Attic, red figure, dish, c. 550 to 500 BC. Louvre, ca. 3662. The references to the Gigantomachy in archaic sources are sparse. Neither Homer nor Hesiod mention anything about the giants battling the gods. Homer's remark that Eurymedon brought destruction on his froward people might possibly be a reference to the Gigantomachy, and Hesiod's remark that Heracles performed a great work among the immortals. is probably a reference to Heracles' crucial role in the gods' victory over the giants. The Hesiodic Catalogue of Women, or the Ahoia, following mentions of his sacks of Troy and of Kos, refers to Heracles having slain presumptuous giants. Another probable reference to the Gigantomachy in the catalogue has Zeus produce Heracles to be a protector against ruin for gods and men. There are indications that there might have been a lost epic poem, a Gigantomachia, which gave an account of the war. Hesiod's Theogony says that the Muses sing of the giants, and the 6th century BC poet Xenophanes mentions the Gigantomachy as a subject to be avoided at table. The Apollonius Scholia refers to a Gigantomachia, in which the Titan Cronus, as a horse, sires the centaur Chiron by mating with Philyra, the daughter of 2 Titans, but the Scholiast may be confusing the Titans and giants. Other possible archaic sources include the lyric poets Alcman mentioned above and the 6th century Ibycus. The late 6th, early 5th century BC lyric poet Pindar provides some of the earliest details of the battle between the giants and the Olympians. He locates it on the plain of Phlegra and has Tiresias foretell Heracles killing giants beneath his rushing arrows. He calls Heracles, "You who subdued the giants," and has Porphyrion, who he calls the king of the giants, being overcome by the bow of Apollo. Euripides, Heracles, has its hero shooting giants with arrows, and his Ion has the chorus described seeing a depiction of the Gigantomachy on the late 6th century Temple of Apollo at Delphi, with Athena fighting the giant, Enceladus with her Gorgon shield, Zeus burning the giant, Mimas with his mighty thunderbolt blazing at both ends, and Dionysus killing an unnamed giant with his ivy staff. The early 3rd century BC author Apollonius of Rhodes briefly describes an incident where the sun god Helios takes up Hephaestus, exhausted from the fight in Phlegra, on his chariot.